In Naples, the perfect pizza is cooked in a wood-fired oven. At Willow Street, our new pizzas, like our Dolce Picante, are also cooked in a wood-fired oven. The perfect pizza. It's closer than you think. Hello and welcome to Jazz Tonight. I'm Michael Jacobi, executive producer of Jazz on the Plazz and host of Raising the Standards on KSCO Radio Santa Cruz. Delighted to have you with us as we continue our summer homage to Duke Ellington. This week we're going mainstream with a big band and an even bigger voice. My buddy Nicolas Bearde. How are you, partner?
Yeah, I'm just fine. It's a pleasure to be here.
You got your own cue cards, or what's the deal on this?
I write these out beforehand.
I got to tell you, the invitation to you has been way too long coming. I'm delighted that you're joining us, and you get these lists going, and it takes a few years to get to them.
Sure, I understand.
But as I say, you're going to be here tonight with our house band. I say tonight, and by the time you folks see this, you'll either be saying, what a great show, or you'll be kicking yourself because you didn't see it. But we tape it the day of the show. But we have our house band, Full Spectrum Jazz,
Yes.
which is an 18-piece big band, who have played with the likes of Tony Bennett, played with our friend Giacomo Gates, and they are a cooking band. And is that a fun gig for you to do a big band?
Oh, it's a great gig. You can't imagine the power that a full big band generates. I mean, the horn sections are just amazing. So you get this, it's almost like a wind blowing behind you, you know.
That's interesting. Do you know Dennis Rowland?
I do.
Well, Rowland, who played, I think he was the last vocalist when Basie was still alive. With the Basie band.
I knew he had some history with it, but I don't know.
But he has that saying, he says, he says, I love playing little clubs, I love with a trio, but it's an empowering feeling.
Yeah, I wish I could say this is why my hair is so short. But no, it's a big thrill to play with a big band. It gives you a sense of that old classic feeling of jazz music. And,
talk about finding your castles in Spain. You were right in our own backyard here. You're an Oakland boy.
I am an Oakland boy, yes. I live in the north part of Oakland. I've been there for, since 1970, early 70s.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a Nashville cat.
Nashville
Born and raised. Yeah, I was there until finished high school, a little bit of college, and then I took off to travel the world.
We have Booker T. Jones coming later this season, and he's from
Memphis.
Memphis, and of course Graceland. His little house on Edith Avenue is not that far from Graceland, but it's quite a distance.
Yes.
Tell me about growing up in Nashville.
Really quaint sort of environment at that time. Nashville now is a very cosmopolitan city.
So you grew up in the 60s?
I did, yeah. Yeah, that was my era. And it was a quiet, very tranquil sort of place, not too much going on until the civil rights movement kicked in, and then Nashville was like one of the centers for civil rights activity and a lot of progressive activity at that time, which was pretty radical for the South.
Were your folks involved in the movement?
No, not at all. Not at all. My father died when I was very young, and there were 7 kids. And so my mother worked all the time.
Yeah, I can well believe it.
Yeah, so the kids, we basically raised ourselves. And,
What was the household like musically? A lot of music in the house? Your siblings?
Oddly enough,
I
was the only one.
Really?
I was the only one. I was the second of 7 kids.
Okay.
And I fell in love with music at a very early age and used to stay up into the wee hours of the morning listening to radio and listening to music of all different styles, and just that was kind of my mind traveled.
You listened to Grand Ole Opry then?
I did listen to a little bit. I was forced to listen to a little bit of Grand Ole Opry. My grandmother, oddly enough, was a big fan of the Grand Ole Opry, and Lawrence Welk, who we spoke of earlier. And every Saturday at her house, it would be Lawrence Welk, Grand Ole Opry. What was the country comedy show?
Oh, Hee Haw.
Hee Haw, all of that stuff was going on every Saturday, and she was very religious about that. But I personally, I didn't really seek out a lot of it, but I really appreciated like Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs and those legendary
And the great
groups.
vocalists like Jim Reeves.
Jim Reeves.
I mean,
And we listened to all
what
this
a
music.
voice.
Connie
Like,
Francis,
yeah,
all of that.
yeah.
We listened to a lot of this music. It was part of the radio scene in Tennessee at that time.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that,
it's funny because they're so different in many ways, but I've always felt that Jim Reeves and Brooke Benton had the same kind of approach to a tune.
that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's I thought that some of his stuff was remarkable.
Well, I think a lot of that music actually crossed genres in a way. There was a lot of stylistic intermingling at that time.
You mentioned your grandmother and watching Hee Haw religiously. Did you grow up in the church?
I grew up in the church in a sense, but I was not.
I mean, did you sing in the choir?
I did, yes.
Okay.
I also sang in the high school choir,
Okay.
the Glee Club, if you will.
Glee Club.
Yes, which I love.
The Whiff and Puffs.
Well, you know,
You can never get enough Gilbert and Sullivan in my book. Excuse me.
Well, we didn't. Actually, I didn't get exposed to that until later. But I loved being in the Glee Club because it exposed me to a kind of music that I didn't hear in my daily life, and the chordal harmonies and all the voices intermingling. It was something I absolutely loved, and I was a little odd for my my contemporaries, my other friends who just basically hung out. But I was that oddball guy who was always singing, you know, in choir or putting some kind of group together and that kind of thing, you know.
Now, did you do sports in high school, or was it later in life you got cut like this and started lifting?
Well, I tried. So in my 10th, sophomore year, I decided I was going to do all of the major sports.
Okay.
And that was the first year I did that, and it was the last year.
That'll do it.
And I found the truth out about that. I actually ran track until I graduated.
Did you do high school? You were saying in high school you did the Glee Club. Did you do a rock and roll band?
No,
Never
I had a doo-wop group.
All right.
I had a 3-person doo-wop group. We were offered a recording contract and all of that, but it was more on the
What was
model
it called?
It was called the Vondells.
The Vondells.
Yes.
I like it.
That's what the producer named us. But it was on the model of Curtis Mayfield and Impressions and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Talk about influences those early years. You said you listened to a lot of music.
Listened to a lot of music. Very disparate influences. Dionne Warwick, Johnny Mathis. I listened to classical music that my brother used to listen to because he was in the classical band in school. So I listened to a lot of that, became a big fan of Schubert, and some Beethoven and all of that. A lot of Motown from that era. Big band, not so much until I got into my senior year in high school, and that's when I started listening to Jimmy Smith and you know, all those kinds of folks, and started getting into some big band and some jazz. But it was Lou Rawls that actually tilted the scales for me, and Miles Davis.
Yeah. Well, vocally, as I've joked with you in the past, that you bought Lou's voice from the estate sale.
I think I did. Part of it.
Yeah, part of it. And your voice is reminiscent of Eckstein as well, and Hartman. I don't know if you drank enough scotch and smoked enough cigarettes to get that voice that way.
No, Hartman came later in life, so it was after I got to know Coltrane a little bit. That's when I discovered Hartman. But yeah, Miles Davis, I listened to Miles Davis in my senior year. I had a friend who was Jamaican, who had been transplanted to Tennessee. So he was a little...
There's a culture shock.
Yeah, so he was a little out of his element anyway. But the two of us gravitated together, and we would go out. Now, we were in high school, and we would go out to Fisk University and take over the rec room in the girls' dorm. Ask me why it was girls' dorm. I have no idea. But we were high school students, so we'd go out, take over the rec room, and we would play Bob Dylan, Miles Davis, Coltrane, Herbie Hancock, Temptations, on their big modern stereo system, which we didn't have anywhere else. And that's how I learned a lot about this music. You know?
It's interesting, and by the way, somebody just yelled 5 minutes. Say how this is our system here. Just yell so we know what's
down
going
to
on.
earth,
Yeah, we don't stand on procedure, and we don't want to buy a clock.
Yeah.
I mean, then you got to plug it in or batteries. It's not
All
worth
of that,
it.
yeah.
It's interesting, having done more interviews with vocalists, like I care to remember, a lot of vocalists will say to me, I was a big Miles fan. And it's surprising to the neophyte, and I'm their poster boy, how much you can learn from an instrumentalist player like Miles as a vocalist. Tell me a little more about that.
Well, Miles had a way with economy and figuring out a way to weave the smallest number of notes into a passage, excuse me, the smallest number of notes into a passage and still get the essence of the melody, deliver that to an audience without having to, go bombastic and do 1,000 notes in a passage. Now that really speaks to a singer because that's what we do with melody. We're not trying to emulate horns necessarily or anything like that. We're trying to tell a story with that message.
Now, are you a musician as well, in addition to vocals?
I'm a part-time clandestine musician.
Piano?
No, bass.
Bass?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I say clandestine with sincerity because nobody's seen me play.
What don't you play? You don't play an upright, or what do you play?
Well, I have both. I have electric and upright, yeah.
And have you ever backed yourself?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever backed yourself?
Not on the actual instruments, keyboard, bass, and that kind of thing. Okay. Some of my recordings have me playing keyboard, bass.
Cool. We're talking to Nicolas Bearde. We're going to take a quick break. First of all, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Willow Street Wood-Fired Pizza. New chef, new menu, new look. It's remarkable. If you haven't been in lately, check it out. And we'll be back in just a second. You're watching Jazz Tonight.
Hey, come here. You know why I bring my folks here so often? Because Willow Street has the best kids menu in town. And kids eat free on Tuesdays. Thank you. You're welcome. Now that's what I'm talking about. Can I get a wine list? Never mind.
In New York, the perfect pizza is prepared with fresh, creative toppings. At Willow Street, our new pizzas, like our prosciutto di Parma and gorgonzola, also feature fresh, creative toppings. The perfect pizza. It's closer than you think. Welcome back to Jazz Tonight. Before we continue our discussion and conversation with Nicolas Bearde, I wanted to give my weekly pitch. People ask me all the time, you've got a lot of corporate underwriting, but it appears, since my hand is always out, we need more money. And indeed we do to put on the quality of the events that we do every summer. And we ask that you do your part. And your part can be a number of things. Whether you buy a jazz card, which is really a goofy good deal. It's $100 for $700 worth of value. So it's a wonderful deal. You can buy a ticket to our Los Gatos Music and Arts fundraiser, our Jazz Gala, coming up on Tuesday, July 26th at La Estancia. Our special guests are the Manhattan Transfer. Great wines, great food, and a very special evening indeed. So join us if you can. The good folks at KCAT will be there with a red carpet, doing interviews and chronicling the day and a very, very special evening. Please join us. Go online at jazzontheplazz.com, buy your tickets today, and help keep jazz alive. Well, helping keep jazz alive week in and week out, our friend Nicolas Bearde, and giving the genre a very good name indeed.
Oh, thank you.
Look at this.
This is a new
CD. Is this a new CD?
It's a new one.
I don't
it's a
know
brand new one.
If you guys are zooming on it, so you can probably see it. I've talked about this before with artists. It's the new world of the internet and producing your own music.
Yeah.
That challenge.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's quite a challenge. Yeah.
Ultimately, is it, and it may be a spin, but ultimately, is it better to have more control? Not to worry about what a record company is doing for you?
Well, in many ways it is, but of course that
Although
means
you're not turning down any contracts if somebody calls. Right?
Yeah, but it's but the other side of that is that it's a lot more work.
Yeah.
So instead of just being an artist and letting your people do all the work, now you have to do all the work. You have to engage with the public directly. You have to get on social media and be active on it, and you get the direct results. But in other ways, your reach might not be as wide as like with a major label, you know, because they have distribution channels and outlets that maybe.
But and there are no record stores anymore.
No. There are virtually none.
Everything's
There's a
online.
couple.
Yeah, just a couple left. You and I have known each other for a while, so be real frank with me on this. But I mean, years ago, you did an album, and you get so much a unit.
Exactly.
How does it work now if someone's not downloading the entire album but downloading a tune? Is it like pennies a download, or how does that work?
It's about that, yeah. But there was back when this sort of internet methodology of selling started. I was resistant.
Yeah.
I wanted to be classical in my distribution methodology, and I read an article that said a little piece of something is better than a whole bunch of nothing.
Yeah.
And that if you have your work online, it's more available to people all over the world, which means that every day you're selling something.
Yeah.
So, and that's been true for all of my albums, and especially this new one. Every day it's being sold somewhere. Somewhere in the world, somebody is buying it.
It's like
now, it's only pieces, but
it's like the old Seinfeld bit that every day he gets a check for 27 cents, whether he needs it or not.
yeah, exactly. So it's that kind of thing. I mean, you're getting pennies, and in some cases, micro pennies, that's an issue that's being dealt with right
Not
now.
to mention the daunting. I talked to Paul Williams about this, who's president of ASCAP. Not to mention the daunting challenge of keeping track and having. Stories of the guys in the '50s that got screwed so badly on records, and the producers adding their name to the compositions. Right. But at least you know how many you pressed. Now you have no idea.
And that's another aspect of having ownership and complete control of it all. We also have to pay the licensing and all of those rights and publishing and all that has to be paid to the appropriate people.
And I would think a perk of doing that is that since you tour and do a lot of live shows, it kind of opens the door a little bit. People can go out and say, "Oh, well, that's a great sound." It might be easier to get to sell tickets to an event because they can hear your music in advance.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and that's a necessity.
You had a great look. What the hell are you asking?
Well, we kind of went into the marketing side.
I saw that lost look in your eye, and I went, "Oh, I don't even know what to say myself."
Yeah, no, that's absolutely necessary. I mean, because radio there's a lot of radio. A lot of internet radio. There's a lot, but in terms of terrestrial radio, there are fewer and fewer markets.
Well, there's fewer and fewer jazz stations.
Music, So terrestrial radio, internet radio, and all that has been a boon in some ways, but it's also a very targeted sort of. You have to know about an internet radio station, and you have to be in a place where you can receive that music.
Okay, now Sirius, like their jazz channel. Do they come to you? I think Mark Ruffin runs the one on Sirius.
Oh no,
How do you? Or you just get added, or how does that happen?
No.
Do you need a publicist to add you to that, or what?
Well, mostly you deal with radio promoters.
Okay.
And these are people who specialize in marketing your music to radio stations, and saying this is something that will fit your format. Give it a listen, see if it's something you want to play, and hopefully they pick it up.
And they all sit at high tables, so there's plenty of room underneath.
Exactly. And there's a lot of CDs around that tables.
I've been there taking notes.
Yes. So, it's marketing in many respects. I mean,
how old were you when you started professionally?
Professionally, I was 18, 19 in that area.
Did you ever sign with a label?
Never did. I was very close. Very close a couple of times, but no, never did.
Okay, and tell me about your catalog. How many CDs have you?
Well, I have 5 CDs in my catalog. This is
and they're still available.
They're still
available. I guess
available.
that's the good thing. Things don't go out of print.
I have a garage.
Trust me, I can get you a CD.
Yeah, just come see me. I'll open my trunk. They'll be. They're all over the place. Yes.
But okay, let's talk a little bit about that because after tonight or next week, when there are people who see this. And people have heard you. Obviously, they could buy CDs at the event.
Yeah.
But to order your CDs, are they all available?
They are all available on all of the download digital sources, including iTunes. You name it.
But can you buy a CD on iTunes physically?
No, not
You
physical.
just what I'm saying. If you
That's
want
all
to buy a
download.
CD
But if you want to buy a CD, you
like
can
this,
go to
you want to
Amazon.
get this. Okay,
Amazon.
Okay.
Oh God, I don't know all the sources, but yeah, CD Baby, places like that. Yes, and of course the local brick and mortar stores, if there are any in your area.
Did you ever do vinyl?
Have not done vinyl. No, no.
Isn't it
I've
funny
not
what
done
goes around comes around?
vinyl. Isn't it? I was just reading an article in Jazz Is about the resurgence of vinyl, and so many artists are now having to print to vinyl, and we'll see if that happens for me. But it's right now it's very costly to do that.
We, as we talk about every week, we're paying homage to Duke Ellington, and you're going to do what is considered a Duke Ellington song, but isn't. You do "Lush Life," which is really
Lush
straight
Life,
on.
yes, which is featured on this album.
That's right.
By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that you're going to do, not unlike what you're doing tonight, you do that with a smaller group.
Well, Lush Life I'm doing just with the pianist.
Okay.
So it's just going to be two of us, a duo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at the concert, you do. Do you work with big bands a lot?
I'm working with them more and more. The last couple of years have been it's been a door that's been opening.
See, that's one of the things I've learned, and I've been, before I started producing shows, and I've been in the jazz radio business for years, I didn't realize, well, look, we got a big band for it. I don't have any arrangements. Well, get some. You know?
Yeah. So that's
a big deal.
That's what's happening now. Is I'm developing not only the classic works, but I'm developing my own catalog, my original music and all that, being arranged for a big band. So I'm excited.
Now, do you do arrangements?
Only here. Only in my head. Yeah. I don't do formal arrangements. There.
You don't sit in this nondescript room with a bass
Yeah,
and do arrangements that no one knows about.
Exactly. No. But I will sit with my keyboard and do some limited arranging. But yeah.
We ask, okay, your website is what?
My website is nicolasbearde.com, and that's NicolasBearde.com. NicolasBearde.com.
It's funny how everybody else spells Nicholas wrong.
Incorrect, totally incorrect. Even spell check is incorrect. Yes. And Beard.
They spell that wrong as well.
Incorrect, yes.
Hey, so you're doing a lot of live. I know you're in a regular rotation musically on our show, our radio show. And you stretch a lot, Cafe Stretch, which are good buddies of mine.
I do maybe twice a year.
Okay, and you do our friend Bruce Labadie in San Jose Jazz.
Absolutely,
and you're here at Jazz in the Plazz. Yeah. So do you do much touring outside of the state?
You know, I've been...
you done Europe or Japan?
Yeah, I've done a fair amount of Europe. You know, I toured with Bobby McFerrin for a number of years, so we did all of Europe and the festivals and all that sort of thing. And as a solo act, I've been touring Russia and, you know, those some of those eastern countries. And
my friend Gates does. So
Giacomo?
Giacomo. And he tells the stories about Russia.
He
says, those planes are scary.
There are stories. Oh, my goodness, yes. I have stories about the plane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you done Monterey yet?
Not as a solo, not yet. I've done it several times with several groups, including McFerrin and... as a member of Sovo Soul years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've done that. And I'll be doing it this year with a group that's called Tony Lindsay and the Soul Soldiers.
Well, you're Tony.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we'll be doing Monterey this year.
Were you with Tony when he was here a couple of years ago?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Tony and I go back a long way.
Mm.
Just before we wrap up, I want to return to Lush Life.
Yes.
That's redundant. But was that a tune that you had to reach a certain either age or experience before you'd record?
That's an interesting question. I never thought of it.
Law of averages, I get to one sooner or later.
Well, yeah, I actually can't even tell you when I started doing it and why I started
My
doing
guess
it.
is you didn't come out of the box of doing it at 18.
No, not at all. No, in fact, I had to sort of worked my way into jazz from the R&B side, you know. Now you got me trying to figure out when I first did it, because it's just a song that at one point I had to do.
Well, and folks
felt compelled to
that
do it.
know the song, Billy Strayhorn wrote it when he was 16. Most of the lyrics when he was 16. And if you hear the lyrics, you go, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Because it's so life-worn.
Yeah.
But I was reading this morning that he wrote it over a 5-year period. So 16 to 21, it's pretty good learning curve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was doing quite a bit of traveling with Duke and that sort of thing. So he was learning.
Delighted to have you here, my friend.
It's a pleasure to be here.
And, look
Thank you
forward
so
to
much.
seeing a good deal more of you and looking forward to the show.
Yeah, well, thank
Nicolas
you.
Bearde.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I didn't say Nicolas Cage once.
No, you
did.
didn't.
You notice that?
You just did.
Very proud of myself.
Thank you very much.
That's Jazz Tonight. Until next week, make it a great week. I'm Jacobi. I'll see you soon.
In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.